Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC and welcome back to the shop. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how we built this crew van interior. Overall, building a cargo and a crew van are very similar, and we've actually covered a lot of these steps in our previous videos. In this video, we're giving you a bit more of an overview of those instructions, but if you'd like a more detailed tutorial, check the links in the description below. Along the way, when we encounter a more crew-specific detail, we'll stop and we'll take a little bit deeper dive so you can see how we convert those specific areas. Places like finishing our ceiling into the factory headliner, or terminating our wall kit into some of the crew plastics. And with that, let's get to work. So some of the things that have been done to this that we've already stripped out was they pulled out the factory seating. They put in some aftermarket seating. You can see some of the residue from their old flooring is still in here. A couple of the plastic pieces are missing, but I'll point those out as we get through some of these details. Our main objectives with picking up this crew van was to outline the challenges of our crew build on video, as well as test our crew van kit for our DIY offerings. Our first step was to repair the exterior roof that had been damaged from the roof rack. So when we first bought this van, it had a full steel roof rack that was powder coated, but unfortunately this van lived about 6 blocks from the beach, so it was absolutely destroyed with rust. The whole roof of the van had this like layer of rust and little rust spots all over the top of it, so it was in pretty bad shape. So yesterday we buffed out all the rust spots, everything across the entire top. We scuffed the surface, degreased everything. So what we're gonna do is actually spray the surface of the van on the exterior with this Lizard Skin OEM 200. It's a reflective roof coating, and they actually designed this for more industrial applications. They put it on like tankers, tanker trucks, tanks outside, everything like that. It's a white thermal coating and it's reflective, so it's actually meant to keep everything inside nice and cool. We picked this up to actually experiment with on our deck panels because we thought spraying this on our decking would make it always cool to the touch and help reflect stuff off the van, keep the van nice and cool. But since we have a white van and this product is white, it's gonna blend in. I think it's a really cool test application of it. So we're gonna give it a spray. With the exterior repaired, we were ready to start the interior work. The van came with JMG seats in place, so we fit our insulated floor system around them. With a few quick adjustments, we had the floor fitting perfect. We removed some of the insulation where the JMG seat base was mounted. This way, our floor installs over the seat base and provides a flat floor when seats are removed. Our next step is gonna be scribing this Ford trim plastic here at the back of our headliner so we can have a nice tight fit with our wall kit. We've already removed our headliner up front so that we can insulate and add lights to our headliner, but we've reinstalled this plastic back to its original factory location, and now we're gonna scribe some lines on it so we know where to cut. Our next step is gonna be mask up the surface of this piece of plastic so we don't have to clean off any extra Sharpie marks in the future after we're done cutting down. And again, the customer I bought this from has already trimmed this down a little bit, so it's gonna look a little different from yours, but it's not gonna matter for what we're doing today. So I'm gonna take my wall to ceiling support and I'm gonna put it up here into place, and I'm gonna slide it forward till it hits the Ford plastics. And then once it's there, I put a couple little pieces of duct tape here just to take the wiggle out of it while I try to trace it in its location. Looks good. So now I can kind of hold it up into place, and I can trace this end with my Sharpie. Perfect. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So our next step is gonna be marking out where we wanna trim our plastics for our furring strips to attach our ceiling to the van. Now here at AVC, we run 3 furring strips. We run one right about here, we run one right in the center, and then we run a third all the way out here. And these coincide with our roof ribs and the riv nuts that we put in a normal cargo van to bolt up our unistrut. Here in the crew, we're not gonna bother with unistrut in the van because we're not gonna be hanging permanent cabinets here in the back. So to do this, we're gonna take our wall to ceiling support, and we're just gonna use this basically as a ruler or a flat edge. I'm gonna hold it up to the roof rib, and then we're gonna use that to plane between the 2 ribs and forward to our plastics. So then we're gonna slide it forward till we hit our plastic. We're gonna hold this in place, and then we're gonna mark on our plastic where this hits. So now I know this should be the plane of my roof rib behind it. Now I'm gonna take my scribe, and I put a Sharpie in here just so it's nice and fat and easy to see. I'm gonna set my scribe up from the ceiling of my van, and I'm gonna adjust it down till I hit that mark. Now I can trace this out, and this is gonna give me the level of the rib behind it. So with this line in place, we know that this is where the bottom of the roof rib is behind the plastic. Now I need to add another mark that's gonna be the same thickness as my furring strip that's gonna hold up my ceiling. Here at AVC, we use a 1/4 inch furring strip. So I'm just gonna add 1/4 of an inch to this line. I'm gonna mark that out, and I'm gonna set up my scribe to this point. So now I'm gonna use my scribe against the ceiling of the van, and I can mark this out. Now you can scribe the entire thing, but we're not gonna cut everything out. I'm gonna make sure I scribe here in the center because that's where we put one of our ceiling furring strips. And then over here. So with these marks in place, we're ready to take this out to the table and make a couple more measurements before we start our cut. To remove this plastic section, you'll need to pop out these pins. All right, I'll see you at the table. So when I was in the van, I forgot to mark center on my Ford plastics. So we're just gonna take a quick measurement between these 2 points. And that is 38 3/8. Half of 38 3/8 is 19 3/16. So we're gonna go ahead and mark 19 3/16 here, which that looks good. I always like to measure center from both points. That way I know it's true center, so 19 3/16, which is right there. So that's good. So now I'm gonna take my furring strip, and here at ABC, our furring strips are just the size of our Makita track saw, but that's right about 6 inches. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm just gonna put the center of my furring strip over the top of this hole, because that's where this is gonna get mounted. And then I can mark on my tape, left and right. I'm gonna do the same thing here in the center. So mark left, mark right, and then do the same thing on the opposite, on this far side, left and right. Now I'm gonna take these marks and I'm gonna transition them to the other marks that we made in the van, and that's gonna give me the space I need to cut out. So on your plastics, this edge is gonna be a little bit longer, but the main thing we're looking for is this line here, and then the side-to-side marks. And at this point, we're gonna take a little bit of artistic license, and we're gonna make our cutout marks on the van. The main thing we're concerned about is making sure this is nice and accurate. The side-to-side marks, we can actually give ourselves a little bit more room. So if this is where my furring strip is gonna land, let's go ahead and give ourselves another 1/4 of an inch, and that way, when we go to install this plastic, it's gonna fit nicely. So now we're gonna cut this section out right here. We're gonna leave the rest of it in place. So our next step is gonna be cutting these notches out, and the easiest way to do this is gonna be with our jigsaw. Now we are going to use a fairly fine-toothed scroll blade, and that's so that we can make some of these quick cuts and tight corners and not have too much throw. Now it is an upcut blade, so the teeth are gonna cut on the upstroke, and that's gonna help pinch this material between the foot of our saw and the blade itself. So it's gonna give us a little bit more control as we cut this material out. So let's load it up, put our ears on, and get to work. Our plastics are notched out. We're ready to install our furring strips, our wall-to-ceiling supports, and get the final test fit on our Ford plastic. It was a close fit, but it looks like we need a little bit more trimming. So we'll just take off a little bit at a time, make sure we got it just right. All right, we're back here in the van, and after a couple rounds of making little adjustments to this, I have it reinstalled, and I'm pretty happy with this fitment. I have a sample of our wall kit here that is normally out of our color samples kit, but if I hold it up in place, you can kind of see how that's gonna look when it's all finished. The wall kit is gonna bridge that little bit of a gap that we have here, and everything is gonna look nice. If I move it over here, you can see, even with a little bit of a gap, this wall kit sample is gonna totally cover that, and we're gonna have a nice professional looking interior. Same here on the wall and along here. I think it's gonna look perfect. With our plastics trimmed, we installed our vinyl flooring. If you'd like to see more details on how we install our vinyl floor, check the link for the video in the description below. With our vinyl floor installed, we are ready to foam and wrap our columns in preparation to test fit our wall kit. Our next step was to install our lighting in the factory headliner. We like to add zone lighting to our vans, and the crew headliner is a perfect place to add that front zone. The install and wiring is the same as our previous video, but I like to mark our layout on the back side of the headliner and add glue to the lights since we're only screwing into the foam. With our lights in place, we can reinstall our headliner. Here we are prepping our rear ceiling for install. We thought we'd try some flexible reading lights at the back of the ceiling just to see how they worked. Since we aren't installing any unistrut, we marked our screw layout on the back side of our ceiling for even screw placement. We made our final light connections and installed our rear ceiling. I've been wanting to try some vented rear windows, and this build seemed like a great opportunity to try them out. We called our local window shop, OE Auto Glass, to help us remove the factory windows. Now that our Ford plastics are trimmed and installed, we're ready to test fit our wall kit. I always recommend installing your wall kit in its raw configuration so that you know you don't need to do any modifications to it before you start wrapping panels. Once you start wrapping panels, it's going to be much more difficult to do any kind of modifications to get a proper fit. So here in this crew, we have test fit all of our panels. We're really happy with this fitment. Now we're ready to go on and make some modifications to this, which are going to be our pocket walls. So we're going to assemble pocket walls in this van, and if you're curious about that pocket wall system, go ahead and check out the video in the link below. Happy with the way the kit was fitting in the van, we were ready to foam and wrap all of our panels. If you're curious how we upholster our wall panels, we have a video for that. Check the link in the description below. In order to finish our window frame for the driver's front quarter panel, we're gonna have to glue up all of these sections. So let's go ahead and glue these up, and then I'll show you how we trim them. Now, our next step on this window frame assembly is trimming the back side of this edge so that it meets the contour of the Ford Transit wall really nice and tight. And we actually have a downloadable template on our website, so you can download this and then we're gonna cut it out. We're gonna trace that shape on here and cut our foam. Then we can take our knife and we can cut our foam to match that trim. It doesn't have to be perfect here. Most of it's gonna be hidden behind the wall, but the closer we get it to this cut, the better off it's gonna turn out. With our foam window frame assembled and trimmed, we're now ready to move on and we're gonna wrap these and assemble them with that wall section. With our tube complete, we are ready to reinstall the seats and work out the rest of the features of this build. If you'd like to see how this project turned out, check out our crew van tour linked in the description below. Thanks for following along with this crew van interior build out. If you have questions about the process, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.